Always a pleasure to be back in Iowa. How many heard me on Jan's show today? How many for the first time have heard this? How many have athletes, high school, college? Yeah, there's big applications. So I'm going to talk a lot about a new application of the oils, and I'll be telling you all about that in a minute, with any kind of surgical healing, any kind of falls to minimize, eliminate fractures, breaks, concussions. And Brian's going to start passing around. We're going to be doing a new study at MD Anderson Hospital. It's the biggest cancer center in the world. If you didn't know that, it's the biggest plastic surgery, reconstructive surgery department in the world, and the #1 training center for fellows that already have an MD degree and are already surgeons into plastic reconstructive. It's also microsurgery. So this is attaching nerves. It's not the cosmetic aesthetic around every corner that they have today. This is major surgeries. You have cancer, you have a mastectomy, they rebuild it from your own fat, put the nerves back in. This is major, major stuff. Those kind of surgeries can go up to 18 months. Typically it can be 3 surgeries. So this is major stuff. The chair, former chair of the department for 17 years, Dr. Rob, brilliant doctor. And for me to say that, you know my attitude on most doctors, I don't have much good to say about him. This one is phenomenal, is world-renowned, and a brilliant man. Undergraduate degree in mathematics. So when he sees the science, he gets it, puts it together like this. Well, that must imply this, and that would do that. You just don't get this from anybody. So he is absolutely wonderful. Got it approved through the IRB committee that does all the clinical trials at MD Anderson. It's going to be starting in June. It's probably going to be 40 to 50 patients a month for at least 6 months. So we're going to have hundreds of patients. And what Brian's passing around, take a look at this and you can see what Dr. Rob said. This patient fell, got her shoe caught on a sidewalk, fell face first onto the pavement. So she looks like a raccoon. 86 years old. You'll see the initial. This is 2 months later, 100% healed. There was no concussion, no tooth chip, no cheek chip, no nose break, nothing. And Dr. Rob was amazed at this. And you could see what he said about it. It's remarkable healing. For those of you that don't typically see a lot what doctors write, they call remarkable something they don't see. They don't use that term lightly. So if you have a doctor saying that's remarkable, that is a very, very big deal. When we come back from the break, I always go through the news and tear out things from the past 6 months. This is going to just absolutely amaze you. How you are either being misled or directly lied to with things. One of the big ones that just came out, anybody here is concerned about cancer, and you should be. The new statistics from 2013 to 2017, the increase percentage in cancer is 1.7%. This doesn't mean the bigger number. This is the percentage. So 1.7% more people are contracting cancer, which means all this preventative garbage is doing absolutely nothing, or it would be zero. It would be no increase in percentage. It would be the same number. The amazing thing is 3.4% more deaths. You go, wait a minute. 1.7% more people. Double the amount are dying in the same period of time. What does this mean? One thing. The personalized medicine, all the garbage you're hearing about, and the aggressive treatments are killing people worse than they would the prior 10 years. They're killing you. This is from the Cancer Society's own numbers. You're not going to see it published in any newspaper, anything. This was out of medical journals. So you should be petrified of getting cancer, because if you get it, they don't know what they're doing with it. My first book was Hidden Story of Cancer, so I spent a lot of time with cancer, and these oils absolutely help it. So, bottom line is, what's the deal with the oils? There's 2 things you need: Paran Omega-6, Paran Omega-3. Those are the 2 oils your body can't make, okay? You've got to get them from food. Turns out they are processing all the omega-6 oils. So the omega-6 oils are like sunflower, safflower, canola oil. That's what they're frying in, baking in at your commercial supermarket, and they ruin it. Why? To get long shelf life. Because oils go bad. They're supposed to. This is what they do in the body, but the body has natural antioxidants. And By stopping them, you get long shelf life, but they're killing us. We have 100 trillion cells. 100 trillion. It's an unfathomable number. Every cell membrane is 50% fat. The other 50% is protein. There's almost no carbohydrate in the cell membrane. Out of the 50% fat, 25% to a third are these oils. Parent omega-6, parent omega-3. The predominance is the omega-6 series. So everybody says we're overdosed on omega-6 if you read the health stuff. No, we're not. We're overdosed on adulterated omega-6. When you look at the tissue structure, we need 11 times more parent omega-6 than parent omega-3. The reason I use the word parents is because there's what's called long-chain derivatives or metabolites. They start with the parents and they make all these other things that the body needs, but it's the body's job to make them. We don't need to do it. Turns out the omega-6 series is much, much, much more powerful than the omega-3, but all you ever hear about is omega-3, right? Fish oil this, fish oil that. Fish oil fails, but they don't discuss it much. So Richard Feynman, PhD, Nobel Prize winner in physics, said the first thing a scientist has to do is not fool himself. And you are the easiest person to fool because you pick a result, and that's fair in science. I'm guessing this. You always guess. But when you do the experiments, you better be fair in showing it does this. And these guys don't. They throw out stuff that doesn't confirm it. They play with data. They don't know how to use statistics. There was one, I'm going to read it in here. They were acting like they had a treatment, and it was noise, random noise from the machine. The treatment did nothing. And they're writing articles on this. You have no idea how bad it is. No idea. Personalized medicine, 1.5%. This is the new cancer stuff that they've spent the past decade for, right? With your immune system. If you're lucky, 1.5% better. That to me is 98.5% failure. 98 out of 100 times fail. And it's even worse because it kills a lot of people. This garbage attacks normal organs and tissues. They hush that up too, it could kill you. They don't know what they're doing, and you should be terrified of getting cancer. Turns out, Otto Warburg, MD, PhD, greatest biochemist, physiologist, 20th century, conclusively showed cause of cancer is one thing only. Lack of cellular oxygen. Not in the bloodstream, in the cell. And they confirmed this in America, 1953 and 1955. Goldblatt and Cameron, they looked at heart tissue, they deprived it of oxygen, then they gave it more oxygen, deprived it more oxygen. Did this over 2 years. All the oxygen-deprived tissue, cancerous. The ones that had full oxygen, no cancer. So that's cause and effect. Then they did another experiment proving the same thing in 55. It was brilliant work. Nobody's figured out, nobody even talks about why the heck does the cell, the tissue, not get that oxygen. I'm the only one that talks about the cell membrane. I've never seen anybody else in the world talk about cell membrane. There's some pretty good people out there. There's Seafried over at Boston College. They stop at the cell membrane. Nobody says, why is this a problem today? That's all I cared about when I saw that. It was, why would that be a problem? Turns out the adulterated omega-6 acts like plastic in the cell membrane. So how well do you think oxygen is going to be transferred into the cell when you have a hunk of plastic? That's hydrogenated oil. It's margarine. It's a plastic food. So that was the first thing years ago. And too few listen. Everybody knows my name. So few people do anything with this. That's why I'm just ecstatic with Dr. Robert M.D. Anderson. So when I started out, I was next to the dog bones section, natural dog bones and the hidden story of cancer in the same magazine. It's called Nexus. They have aliens, they have all this stuff. Published out of Australia. I was just tickled that anybody even gave a damn, quite honestly, to do anything with this book. It was a very nice write-up on the book, but you're next to the aliens. So over time, things advanced. A lot of complementary integrative medicine. You know, I would be a co-chair at lectures at things like American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine stuff. But I've never been directly involved with the most orthodox medicine you can get, and that's MD Anderson. Cancer is as hardcore as it gets, and a surgeon is the top of the chain as far as it goes for anything. So to have a surgeon that was chair of the department for 17 years, that is the elder statesman in the field, that's world-renowned, that likes my science and gets it, I am just ecstatic. It's been 20 years, pounding my head against the wall. We did work at the University of Miami in a wound clinic, got great results. Think they cared? No, because they're paid on how many times they see the patient in the clinic. So if I heal you 30 to 40% faster, that means 30 to 40% less times you're in the clinic. You don't need to go there anymore. Guess what? They're not going to use it. So they talk about wanting better care for the patient, and unfortunately, it's after the money. In America, it's money first and everything else is second. And if you don't learn this stuff on your own, God help you. People know more about their car than about their body. So there's two books. There's Hidden Story of Cancer out there. And there's PEO Solution. PEO Solution is Parent Essential Oil Solution. I want people understanding the science. If it's general health information you want, that's the book. If you care about losing weight, 24-Hour Diet is the book. If you're diabetic, 24-Hour Diet is the book. It's the same general material, of course, but a different focus. PEO Solution looks at a lot of different things. 24-Hour Diet is all, how do I lose the damn fat and not get fat in the first place? And what's the truth with the science? So it's all physiology, biochemistry. There's very few pages of recipe in there. But I wrote the book because doctors wanted it. It was, Brian, where's the science I can give to my patients on what the heck to eat? We can put a man on the moon. If you actually think somebody can't tell you what to eat, it's idiotic. It's known what to eat. And you don't need studies. See, a study should always confirm the science, not backwards. What they do now is they have no interest in science. It's show me your study. Well, wait a minute, I've got the science. I know what the study's going to show. I don't care. So what they do is they do terrible studies because they're incompetent, quite honestly. They're opposite to the science. So when I read this stuff, it's like fish oil can't possibly work, to take an example, because the science says it doesn't. And when you read PEO Solution, you'll see the science. So back to the oils. 1/4 to 1/3 of every cell membrane in 100 trillion cells is supposed to have these oils, and at least 50% of the parent omega-6 oil you're eating is non-functional, unless you're getting it at the health food store. So if you're getting it at Hy-Vee or any of the commercial supermarkets, this is both cancer-causing and carcinogenic, the oils by themselves. You don't have to do anything else, just consume it. That stops the oxygen transfer. The oxygen transfer also gives you a heart attack. That's the cause of that. So it's very fundamental. Turns out LDL cholesterol transports these oils. So by taking a statin, probably a lot of you are on statins, you are stopping the transport of both the bad oils, which is good, but you're also stopping the transport of the good oils. And that's horrible. You're going to be in deep trouble 10 years from now if you take a statin. And cholesterol is another con job. All there is con jobs by the medical profession. It's horrible. Cholesterol, there's no sensor in the bloodstream. That's where I start. Okay. Next question should be, is there sensors for everything else? Yeah. Calcium, potassium, everything there's a sensor for. So if nature cared about it, there'd be a sensor. There's none for cholesterol. What does that tell you? It doesn't matter what the number is. Turns out the higher the cholesterol, the longer you live. Nobody wants to hear it in pharma. They don't care. It's horrible. They have no interest in the science. So on the omega-6 side, first thing is PGE1. If you heard me on the radio, anti-inflammatory. That's the body's #1 anti-inflammatory. So if you get smacked, are people passing around those pictures? You could read it. You know, take a few minutes to read what Dr. Rob wrote, because it's really amazing. I should have taken 6 months to heal 2. So that was knocked down by 66%. Also, no concussion. This is falling straight, boom, in winter. And no pain meds. After 1 day in the hospital, no pain med was needed. And she said it didn't hurt. Obviously, if I touched it, it hurt. But other than touching it, there's no pain. This is the body's natural anti-inflammatory. Now, she was taking double the normal amount. She was taking the oils before the fall. So there's pre-treatment. If you weren't taking the oils, you could take them after the fall. It would maybe take another month. You'd still get all the effects, but it's going to take longer because you're deficient. So if you're not deficient, PGE1, boom, to the rescue. Prostacyclin is PGI2. That's another one that makes the blood platelets not stick together and not stick to the artery. Well, if the platelets aren't sticking together to the artery, how the heck do you get a blood clot? You can't. They also decrease existing blood clots. If you have a blood clot, it's like a scab on the inside. It's the same darn thing. And there's a cascade of metabolic things that do it. First you get it, then how it dissolves, and then it heals. So if you have these right parent omega-6 oils, they work. The omega-3 side, weak as the dickens. All you hear about is omega-3, they don't do squat. In most tissue, there's 4 to 1 parent omega-6 to omega-3. So that's the brick and mortar. So 3/4 of it, 80% of it, is the omega-6. Even in muscle, in any tissue, in fat, it's way more. It's about 20 to 1 parent omega-6. So anybody telling you you need omega-3, you need very little of it. Absolute con job. Budwig was big 20, 30 years ago on this. That's not the problem today. The problem today is mass adulteration of the omega-6 oils. Okay? So you get the oxygen transfer. My skin is all parent omega-6, by the way. All omega-6. There's no omega-3 in there. So you read something like, oh yeah, omega-3 makes your skin softer. How? There's none in there. What are you talking? You can't. That's the kind of stuff you see. The lining of your artery, it's like a straw, okay? The inside lining, it's one layer, parent omega-6. It's called the intima. And in the artery, it makes it flexible, like a balloon. So that's why, that's the 120/80. The artery goes boom, boom. So if it doesn't open up like a balloon when it gets that boom, what's it going to do? It cracks. Now you got a straw. That's the whole thing with arterial disease. If it's flexible, it's not going to crack. You're not going to get any problem at all. If it does crack, how's it sealed? You need cholesterol in there to seal it. So cholesterol is a healer. You need inflammation. You know, people say, I don't want inflammation. Well, if I take a knife and I cut your hand, it's going to bleed like the dickens. Inflammation is the first step by your body to say, stop it. If there's no inflammation, you're going to bleed to death. So the stuff I hear and the lack of insight is just unbelievable to me. So my background's engineering. I don't come from the medical field. Thank God. If I did, I wouldn't be here. I'd be like everybody else. You have to come from outside the field today. And it's horrible. The doctors inside the field are just brainwashed. I'm going to talk about the genetic thing. That's absolute garbage. Doesn't work one bit. It's just a horrible state of affairs. So this is the #1 problem in America. Fully functional parent omega oil should be the #1 supplement in the world. Almost not even talked about. EFAs are the big term, essential fatty acids. I don't like the term. It's not acid in a burning way. It's a chemical structure. So I like calling them parent essential oils. If you get the parents, your body makes all the derivatives. That's GLA, DHA, EPA. That's the fish oil stuff. If you think you need fish oil, I just have 2 questions for you. What temperature are we in compared to a fish? And are you part fish? So if the answer is no, I'm not part fish, which you're not, and we're living at 70 degrees and our internal temp is 98.6 and a fish is 40, you think there's a slight difference in what kind of lubrication and oil they need. Turns out, for the fish, DHA EPA is the antifreeze. Because if I threw you in freezing water, you'd turn into a block of ice, you'd die, right? We're 70% water, 80% water. We turn into a block of ice and die. So the fish would too, so to keep it fluid, antifreeze, either alcohol, you have a drunk fish, or you have the long-chain fatty acids because they don't freeze. Trouble is, they go rancid immediately. So if I take fish oil and put it in this temperature, it's rancid immediately. I don't do anything. Put it at 98.6, the minute I take it, unless there's a pile of antioxidants from your body, rancid immediately. So if you walk through the fish oil market or the fish market, at the store, a lot of times it smells like the dickens. That's these oils going bad. It's called rancid. So we need very, very little of this stuff. We're getting very, very fooled. So when you put this back in, you have the right structure of all the tissue now. That's #1. You have the brick and mortar where everything works. And you have the body making #1 anti-inflammatory and the main ways of vasodilation to increase blood flow to the brain. So this is a big problem with Alzheimer's. They get nowhere with Alzheimer's. I'm absolutely convinced it's a microvascular disease because you have capillaries. Capillaries are 1 cell thick. All omega-6. They're 100% this parent omega-6 I'm talking about, and you have probably 100 million of them in the brain. They're so small you can't see them. It's even hard to see with a microscope. That's the problem. Those things start getting clogged. You don't have nutrient transfer. That's where the nutrients transfer. Now you don't have the nerves working. That's Alzheimer's. That's dementia. Absolutely convinced of it. The time will come when I can do experiments with that. But they've in 20 years got nowhere with it. Absolutely nowhere. Because they're looking in the wrong place. It has nothing to do with amyloid protein. That's ridiculous. The protein is spilling out of the brain because you have these bad adulterated fats in the cell membrane, remember? So if the cell membrane's screwed up and doesn't work, the protein spills out. Remember, it's half fat, half protein. The protein just goes boom because the structure's wrong. So it's an effect, not a cause. And these guys are so stupid, they mistake causes for effects. They don't even know what the heck they're doing. They keep getting nowhere and keep, it's insane. They keep doing it even though it's wrong. So the oils are absolutely critical. It goes on and on and on. Basis of your hormones. PMS, typical problems, minimized 80%. Headaches, 70% of women get terrible headaches. A lot of guys get them too. Blood flow. PGE1, PGI2 from the omega-6 side are natural vasodilators. They increase the blood flow. Almost impossible to get headaches. So all of this goes ba-boom. And the more blood flow in the brain, faster you can think, faster your attention. I mean, the surgeon, Dr. Rob, said there's a big difference. He takes the oils in his surgery, the focus. I said, you take extra before the surgery? He goes, no, honestly, I don't even need it. There's a difference just taking it, in the morning. I was saying take 2 for every surgery before. If you're an athlete or something, just take an extra 2 because they're oxygenators. Doesn't even need to do it. So the oils are critical. Second thing you need is minerals. Minerals aren't talked about enough. All they talk about is vitamins. Minerals are coenzymes like a vitamin is. So without the minerals, the vitamin doesn't work. And it turns out there's 8 minerals your body can't make. And they're like zinc, and they're tied to energy production. They're tied to a lot. SOD is a major what the heck's the word? Got off the track here. Where it goes anti-rancid, so it's the antioxidant. Your body makes the antioxidants. You don't need any coming in ready-made. Your body makes it. So there's superoxide. There's a lot of them. Your body makes it. As long as it has the minerals, it makes the antioxidants just fine. So you want the minerals because they can make reactions go up to 1,000,000 times faster. There's enzymes. You don't need the vitamins. I take no vitamins. I haven't taken vitamins for 2 decades. They're in the food. Is there the same amount there was 20 or 30 years ago? Probably not. Does it matter? No. The minerals do, because the minerals aren't in the soil anymore. The way humans get minerals are typically animal-based protein. The animal goes to the bathroom, dumps the minerals, goes into the plant. From the plant, the animal eats it, like the cow. We eat the animal. We don't get minerals from plants. They're bound to the cellulose. We can't digest cellulose. So anybody tells you eat plants, you get the minerals. No, they need to learn some physiology and biochemistry. You don't. Cellulose is not food. This is fiber, by the way. Fiber is wood. Cellulose. And they tell women to take this to stop colon cancer, to keep you regular. It irritates. Anybody have eyeglasses, right? Are you supposed to take a paper towel, the paper towel you get from Kleenex or any of the brands, and use in your glasses? No, it scratches it. This is known. Just look up, should I use paper towel to clean my eyeglasses? It'll go, no, it can scratch it. So if a paper towel that feels soft to you will scratch plastic eyeglasses that are pretty damn hard, imagine what that's doing to your delicate colon. It's irritating it. Fiber causes colon cancer. This was actually published in 1999 and 2000, and then it's forgotten about. Now these guys are telling you to eat fiber again. Fiber is sawdust. Sawdust is not considered food. Textbook of medical physiology. We can't digest it. We're not a termite. But you're supposed to be eating a pile of sawdust. They're causing the problem. This is how bad it is. The actual solution, quote, solution to our health problems are the cause of the problem. Can't get any more insidious than this. What they're telling you is the solution is the cause. So I'm saying, please, if you buy nothing else, 24-hour diet or PEO solution, to get the science. I'm the only one in the world that gives you exactly what is in the medical textbook. I give you the whole paragraph and the quote. Then I'll explain what it means if it's technical, but you get what they said. You don't get a paraphrase from me deciding what they said, because these guys lie. The textbook will say one thing and they'll tell you something else that has nothing to do with it. So I give it to you on the page. You don't go to the end of the chapter. You don't go to endnotes. You don't go 500 pages away. It's right there. You want to look it up, you can. And I've had people try and show me wrong that have looked up all the references. And they come back and go, I can't find anything wrong. This is serious stuff. It's not a hobby with me. It's all I do. Turns out the oils are what I specialize in, but because the oils are so fundamental, they explain everything. Last thing you need is a detoxifier. Why? Because the stuff we're eating is horrible. Like Roundup. Glyphosate is horrible. And finally, Roundup is getting a cancer designation from California. They tried to hide this and stop telling people it was cancer-causing. It's absolutely cancer-causing. It's a horrible, horrible pesticide. And it causes immense problems in people. And California is finally making them say it's cancer-causing. And the sickening thing with the farmers is it doesn't even work. It doesn't increase the yields. It doesn't do anything they lied to them and told them. It's horrible. Everybody in America, probably the whole world, is just money today. Nobody cares about you. It's money first, money second, and if you happen to get help third, great. Again, money first, money second, and after the money, you happen to get helped, good. If you don't get helped, It's a horrible state of affairs. I can't stress enough. If you don't want to spend 8 hours reading how you work, not much I can do for you. And most people don't. I live in Houston. We have MD Anderson. Pile of people don't want cancer. Well, I wrote a book on that. You know, will you read it? No. Well, you just said you don't want to get cancer. I don't. Well, you told me how much you don't want to get it if you won't take 8 hours to read this book instead of watching Dancing with the Stars and some stupid thing on Bravo with the Housewives of Atlanta. And, you know, it's incredible. People will spend their time on any stupid thing and aren't serious about anything, including their health. And, of course, until it's too late. Then once you're half dead, they'll do anything. But it's too... Once you're there, it is much harder to get rid of a stage 3, stage 4 cancer than it is never to get it. You don't want to be getting it. What is so easy is just taking some oil capsules. But you need to know the science why to do it. So I'm big on not having people do stuff that they don't understand. So you need a detoxification thing because we're eating so much pesticides, steroid residues, hormones, and all the hormones are estrogenic. So this is why the women are all getting breast cancer and all kinds of cancers, because they're overdosed with estrogen from the food they're eating. It's not their own body is dumping out too much estrogen. You read stuff like this, yes. Estrogen wants to give you cancer and kill you. It's bad. Your body's producing it and it's bad. No, you're getting it from the food. Guys' testosterone levels are down. Sperm counts are down because we're eating so much estrogenic, foods too. They're down like 50-60%. So guys are effeminated because of the food they're eating. It's not the meat's bad, it's what they're giving them. So you always want to get, here's the biggest thing to take out of what I'm saying today. Anything that has natural fat in it, you want organic or no hormones, no preservatives, no hormones is the biggest thing. You want a natural meat. So that's eggs, cheese, cream, milk, butter. Meat, if you cook it a lot, you denature it. I sent it off to a lab, and because I like my meat more towards well done, it got rid of 97% of the estrogenic compounds. So it started out 100, and after you cook it well done, it's 3. So it denatures them. It makes them where they don't work. But if you can afford it, you're better off with natural meat, but it's expensive. But the biggest bang for the buck, vegetables, lettuce, fruits, they're second. Anything with fat, because fat is where the residues go. So on a cow that's given steroids and hormones in its fat, that's where they're stored. So when anybody starts losing weight, you burn your own body fat, guess what comes out? All these toxins. That's why a lot of people, when they have weight loss, they're tired. It's because the stored toxins are coming out of the stored body fat. That's why you need a detoxifier. So it's called Essiac. It's the best non-stimulating, non-irritating blood purifier there is. And it's phenomenal for upper respiratory. Anybody has asthma problems, allergies, it is phenomenal for that. 2 forms, liquid and capsule. Capsule is about 90% as effective, but if you have arthritis, it's phenomenal for that. Or any, like I said, asthma, allergy problems, you want the liquid. Ounce a day. If you feel a cold or the flu coming on, you can take 2 cups a day. One day, you'll knock it out. It's volumetric. You just keep flooding because any of this comes in through your nose. That's the way we get sick. You breathe it in. So by drinking it, it coats the whole system. It's unbelievable. I do traveling and, a lot of planes and stuff. I slug that down like there's no tomorrow. I'll drink a bottle of it in 2 days. Never get sick. Never get a sore throat. Nothing. So those are the 3 things you need. And that's all I take. It's complementary with anything. Anybody on blood thinners, you'll need less of a blood thinner because the oils are a natural blood thinner. But it's complementary with any drug. It's actually food. The oils are food because they come from flaxseed, evening primrose seed, sunflower seed, pumpkin seed, coconut oil. They're all from food. And there's a special ratio, so it's not just take this, do that. You need to know what the heck you're doing. And it's not amateur hour. And out there, there's no science, like I keep telling you. They just make up stuff. They have no idea how much you need and why. So there's different ratios, and the book talks about all of it. But let me just give you a few things that came out in the paper. Because over the past 6 months, it's just horrible. But I just want to give you something. I need the reading glasses because it's so small print. This came out, Wall Street Journal, April 8th. Just came out. Title is, get this, Dismal Science in the Search for Cures. Dismal Science. That's their words, not mine. Whole page, Dismal Science. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. Anybody read that book? It's a real cool book. It's about breast cancer culture they took off of this woman and how it's contaminated. So all the researchers think they're getting breast cancer cells 100% and they're not. It's a great book. Because they reproduce quickly and have been mishandled so frequently over the years, HeLa cells have proved to be a serious contaminant. Scientists point to what they call reproducibility crisis, studies whose results can't be duplicated and are untrustworthy. The majority of experiments these scientists do, they can't duplicate them because they got lucky with probability. If the probability is in a certain way, random chance gave you that result. That's why they can't duplicate them, and that's the big headline you see, and why 10 years later it goes nowhere. How much of biomedical research is actually wrong? John Ioannidis, 2005 article, his quote was, "Most published research findings are false." He's at Stanford. That was the most downloaded article, 100,000 downloads. People read it. They do anything about it? No, nothing's changed. Problem is especially acute in the laboratory. There's a new one I read on the plane, Rigor Mortis, How Sloppy Science Creates Worthless Cures, Crushes Hope, and Wastes Billions. 2017. And they say everything that I do, how horrible it is. American Cancer Society, the rate of cancer deaths increased 3.4%, double the increase in new cancers. There's only one deduction. I told you, the aggressive treatments, because they're very aggressive now, and the personalized medicine is killing more people faster. This is where all your money goes, to the Komen Foundation and all these other ones. It's an end in itself. They raise money. They have nothing to do with what did you come up with. Well, we raised $50 million. And what did that accomplish? What? I just said we raised 50. No. I didn't ask you what you raised. I asked you, what did you accomplish? And the answer is nothing. That's why they never even talk about it. And the people are so stupid they don't ask. Remember, the intelligence of the answer is proportional to the intelligence of the question. Most people ask very worthless questions. You have to ask very sharp, specific questions. And nobody does anymore. Another one, the disease of enlightenment. This talks about scurvy. Between 1500 and 1800, 2 million sailors died from scurvy. I had no idea. This just came out too. 2 million died. James Lind was not the first person to recommend lemon juice. It had been discovered 150 years before. Nobody listened. So the guy had the cure of scurvy 150 years before. Nobody listened. British Admiralty ignores Lind's research. Ignored it. So there's nothing new. They ignore my stuff too. Nothing's changed. Study tied to food industry ties to discredit sugar guidelines. Oh, a prominent medical research journal on Monday published a scathing attack on global health advice to eat less sugar. So the journal article comes out, sugar's horrible, they get attacked. And the ones that attacked was Life Science Institute. That sounds good, doesn't it? Life Science Institute. Scientific group based in Washington, D.C., funded by multinational food corporations. Coca-Cola, General Mills, Hershey's, Kellogg's, Kraft Foods, and Monsanto. And one was the highest producer of fructose corn syrup. This is the Life Science Institute. They're bitching that the guys that are right are wrong. This is what you get. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's another one. Cervical cancer taking deadlier toll in the U.S. than had been thought. Oh, this is wonderful. They're talking about cervical cancer rates. This is how stupid they assume everybody is. This is the quote. Quote, this is on cervical cancer. We don't include men in our calculation because they are not at risk for cervical cancer. And by the same measure, we shouldn't include women who don't have a cervix. We don't include men. They're assuming you're an imbecile. I just don't even know what to say. They actually thought it was important to write that. Therapies that can attack cancer in organs. In the 7 weeks prior, this fellow in the hospital. 7 weeks prior, doctors at Yale had combined his melanoma with two of the most promising drugs in cancer today. Medicines work by stimulating the immune system to attack cancer. Now, cancer is not a foreign invader. The immune system is not going to do anything. If they don't understand this, and obviously they don't, they're never going to solve it. Listen to what it does, though. The so-called immunotherapy drugs have also been hailed as a breakthrough in cancer treatment. But as their use grows, doctors are finding that they pose serious risks. This was attacking organs. And I think it went to, page 2 is an entire page. The immune system unleashed by therapies attacks organs. I mean, it's just horrible. It's killing people. It works on organs that don't have cancer and shouldn't be touched. So you can imagine what's happening when they're giving you a drug that's attacking yourself. They can't stop it. Here's another one. You always heard how bad peanuts are. You ever wonder how come there were no peanut allergies 50 years ago? Anybody ever wondered that and why it's epidemic now? Add peanuts to baby's diet to curb the allergy. How many here remember George Carlin before he passed away? He was hilarious. I saw him in his last performance before he died in Las Vegas. He goes, we used to have an immune system. We would go and swim in the filthy river in New York and develop an immune system. Now little Johnny is 6 years old and he's in the hospital, for a cough. And they don't do anything. You want to develop an immune system. All these vaccines, flu shots, horrible. You want the kid getting sick and being exposed to this. But now 180 degrees, add peanuts to the baby's diet so it can develop its own antigens. They finally got it right. Here's another whole page one. Does funding influence the results of science? Of course not. It's 100%. You'll love this statistic. 0 out of 24 industry-funded nutrition studies found results unfavorable. So when I commission a study, they did 24 of them. I pay you for it. 0 out of 24 came up negative, that it causes a problem. This is like, is sugar a problem? No, it's wonderful. Not one that was paid for, which means all these universities doing these studies, they're pigs. Just pay me, I'll give you whatever result you want. This actually happened in Harvard. Did anybody see that came out almost a year ago? Where back in the 50s, they were... I think the head of the Department of Nutrition lied about sugar not being a problem, to put everything on fat. That's where another way this fat thing... Anybody see that? Couple or not? This is Harvard. $50,000 was in the 70s. $50,000 was all it took to get these professors to put all the focus on fat instead of the sugar. And what did they do? Well, we have a diabetes epidemic, if you didn't know, with no end in sight. It's horrible. They're all bought and paid for. Here's one. Study reverses thinking on genetic links to stress and depression. This is wonderful. This had some major article in 2003 about genes and depression. It's been cited by researchers 4,000 times, and 100 other studies have published the same links between serotonin gene and... We ran the exact statistical analysis, and after combining all the results, we found no evidence that this gene does anything. Doesn't do a damn thing, and you had 4,000 imbeciles referencing it. This is how bad it is. There's no way you could know this. There's just no way. Dangerous truth about calcium. I've been talking about this for 20 years. Anybody taking calcium supplements don't, because it's the last stage of heart disease called calcification of the plaque. It precipitates and gives you a heart attack. Your bones are not made stronger by calcium. Your bones are made stronger by these oils, the bone matrix. The matrix is supposed to be flexible. So what do they do to measure bone density? They can't measure the bone middle. They can't measure the matrix. They can measure the outside. So what do? I dump calcium on it, make it harder, it's denser. Oh, you got a stronger bone. No, I don't. I have a denser outside material. I fall and fracture. Horrible. Horrible. Another big one on cholesterol. This just came out in 2017. Cholesterol paradox. A correlate does not make a surrogate marker. This review reviews the evidence and our reluctance to acknowledge contradictory information. In spite of all this cholesterol hoopla, paradoxically, cardiovascular disease is now epidemic. Cholesterol is not a valid surrogate endpoint. I mean, here's a whole thing on how the whole cholesterol thing is BS. Doesn't matter. There's a whole article came out in Business Week, front page. What if it's been a whole scam? Does anybody remember that? The Business Week was on the front page. Because it got my attention, because Business Week is typically read by smart business people. I'm going, this is going to make a difference. Well, the drug company stopped all cholesterol drug, statin advertising for 3 months, and it went right back to normal. Sales were not down one iota. There was never another word. There was no defense of it by the pharmaceutical companies. Just don't say a word, dies over, and that's the end of it. The article is superb. I think we sent off to about 5 people referencing the articles that were anti-cholesterol drugs, anti-statin drugs. That should have been very big allies of mine. Not one responded, not one gave a damn. They're on to the next thing. They don't care. If they're right, they're lucky. If they're wrong, doesn't matter. I mean, it's unbelievable. Nobody stays in the same area. That's why I don't have any colleagues. I work alone. Broken promises of genetically modified crops. Just like I told you, GMOs were supposed to increase crop yields. They don't. The Roundup Ready stuff is a lie. Supposed to lessen pesticide use. They don't. So here all the poor farmers are lied to get this Roundup crops, which the seeds only last one season. They don't even breed on their own. And it does nothing like we said. It's highly pesticided. It's gonna kill you. It's cancer causing. Another one came out. Let's see, what's this one? Oh, herbicide is facing new doubt on safety. That's the Roundup, California, from Monsanto. This is March 2017, so very current. They're finally making them declare that it does cause cancer. You can't lie anymore. Independent experts were paid by Kellogg's. Company blurred the lines between nutrition and promotion. The Breakfast Council. Nowhere did it say this. The makers of Fruit Loops paid the council members. Drug maker reports another failure in their quest to slow Alzheimer's. Like I told you, they keep looking at this beta amyloid garbage. And another few $100 million down the toilet. If anybody wonders why the drugs cost so much, because the pharmaceutical companies are idiots. And it doesn't matter to them. It's just absolutely horrible. Here's a good one. One of the good. DNA is not destiny. They're talking about heart disease. In genetics, destiny, when it comes to heart disease, is genetics. DNA is not destiny. That's the quote. Director for the Center of Human Genetic Research at Mass General. It's not. So in the Hidden Story of Cancer, I had a whole chapter about genetics. Genetics have to be modulated. And what modulates? All the DNA is protein, okay? So what modulates it? Those oils. So it turns it on. So here's a DNA strand. I either have it covered so it doesn't work, or I have it open where it works. But what covers it or opens it? Those oils. Fats do all the modulation. And they don't even look at it. Cholesterol drug shows promise in helping reverse heart disease, but the price is steep. Here's the new line of cholesterol drugs. They cost a fortune. It's PCSK9. I don't know if any of you have heard that. That's the $14,000 a year drug, $1,200 a month. Now, this is what really concerns me. Here's a quote. There doesn't appear to be any level at which there is harm from too little LDL. This is Stephen Nissen at the Cleveland Clinic, one of the top cardiology guys. Cholesterol is the most ubiquitous substance in the human body. If I rip out your cholesterol, you'll become a worm and you'll become an idiot. It is absolutely critical. For a guy to make a comment like this tells me he understands nothing with physiology in the least, and he is head of cardiology. He was paid to do this study. To make a comment like that, you rip LDL cholesterol down to those low numbers, you are going to see, like I told you, dementia and Alzheimer's in 40 and 50-year-olds. You give these lunatics 10 years, you have no idea what's coming. I had to read this 5 times. I could not believe someone at this level is saying something as stupid as this. Again, there's no cholesterol sensor. Why on earth would you try and bring it to 0? This is how bad it is. When a top guy like that says something is wrong as that. Here's an example in climate change. My unhappy life is a climate heretic. What do I care about that? Because it's about science. They don't want the science. My research was attacked. My research was published in 2008 after a report concluded the opposite, insufficient evidence to claim a statistical relationship between global temperature increase and normalized catastrophic losses. So, I mean, this is the whole thing. They ruined the guy's reputation. The lesson is that a lone academic is no match for billionaires and well-funded advocacy groups. So the truth doesn't matter. For a time, I called out politicians and reporters who went beyond what science can support, but some journalists won't hear of it. It's political science. The real science doesn't exist anymore. They're all paid and bought. Or they have a political agenda. It's absolutely horrible. 2016, what's this one? It just doesn't end. I mean, I don't know what was here. Oh, genetically modified crops. This was on the front page that they don't work. So it was on the front page of the New York Times. But people don't do anything with it. Targeted cancer therapies fail. Okay, this is the one. This is in MIT's magazine where I went to school. An oncologist at Oregon Health and Science. The new targeted therapy will help 1.5% of patients with recurrent untreatable solid tumors extend their life survival by a few months. Despite the hype surrounding the rare cases, most people with cancer do not benefit from, quote, precision therapy. The few successes, without discussing the domination of all patients treated, blah, blah, blah. Yes, there are a few winners, but it's just like the lottery. Is it worth spending millions of dollars on testing to find the 4 patients you wouldn't have found otherwise? And all you hear is hoopla, hoopla, hoopla. One more, now we can have a break. Men's workouts tied to low libido. So women, if your husbands are working out in the gym all the time, no libido, it's a huge stress. Now these oils help with the endocrine system, so they fix that. Here's cholesterol, another one, New York Times, cholesterol slashing drug, it's the same thing. The absolute reduction was 1.3%. So this means if I give it to 100 people, 98.7% aren't helped. That means if I make 100 buildings, 98 fall down. And here's the medical field. Not only 98 fell down, you mean 2 are standing? Yeah. Brilliant. It's 98% failure. No, it's 2% success. Brilliant. I tell this to doctors and they defend the drug companies. Well, if you give it to 1 million patients, it's still 2%. Are you an imbecile? I mean, this is doctors who I would expect, they can't think. The average doctor cannot think. Don't think they can. Don't think they're a scientist. They have a big memory, and they do what they've been doing for years. They can't think. God help you if you come across something they haven't seen 10 times before. They won't be able to figure it out. They have no diagnostic skills. It's horrible. Believe me, I don't like talking like this. I wish I could say these guys were brilliant. I love talking to them. They're great colleagues. No, it's like talking to the wall. Unless you get a guy like Dr. Rob, who I stood up and said, you have to understand how different you are. I actually said that to him. I was laughing. He goes, Brian, you got me with the word EFA, essential. I said, you actually know what EFA means? Most don't. Then we started talking about PGE1. He goes, yeah, it's about increased blood flow. I stood up. I said, how, in a very big explicitive, did you know what that term meant, PGE1? You have to understand, I've talked to hundreds of doctors. Not one has ever, ever, ever known what the hell that is. He didn't tell me how he knew it. But it was just such a pleasure to get a doctor that could go, oh, if it does this, it must globally work in all the tissue and do this, which should make this heal faster too. Right. And I'm just over the moon. So this is the biggest thing, and you know, you're the first audience that's heard about this study and on Jen's show. Last week is when it started. Again, biggest cancer center in the world, biggest plastic reconstructive surgery department in the world, and one of the most esteemed doctors in the world, not just America, and no cost. We're not being charged for this. Typically, you want to do a study by anything of hundreds of thousands of dollars just to have them do it. Then you pay them a couple hundred more if you want the right results. And you'll get those results, I assure you, and then it'll fail in the drug test by the time it gets to phase 3. But so any of you that have surgery, if it's coming up, either elective or required, any of you that have people or yourself are over 65, I think you heard me on the radio, 25% of people over 65 fall and fracture something, break something, hundreds of millions of dollars. So if you want to heal like that picture, did everybody see that picture? There's no makeup there on the picture. Nothing is hidden. That was just straight 2 months. Actually, it was 7.5 weeks when it should have taken 6 months. Should have taken 6 months. 86-year-old healing like that. A 30-year-old doesn't heal like that. A kid doesn't heal like that. A kid would take 3 months. And then anybody that has athletes, because the oils make everything flexible. Remember I told you in the bone? Same thing with the brain, makes it flexible. The oils are fat. It gives you the buffer. So you can take bang. Same thing with the tissue, you know, in your nose or something. It's flexible. It's not supposed to break and fracture. Again, osteoporosis is the bone matrix. It's not the external. You can look this up in the textbook of medical physiology. They're using osteoporosis to mean something that it doesn't mean. So even in the medical profession, they use the wrong terms. And then they forget what they're talking about. It really is that bad. So any of the sports kids, for the concussions, for martial arts, for getting smacked, I mean, you've seen what that is. The black eyes are blood. It's coagulated blood. They give it a big term in there, but it's coagulated blood. So what's it doing? It's getting rid of the coagulation so you heal. It's called a hematoma. I mean, there's all kinds of terms for this stuff. But it inflames, then it heals, the inflammation goes away, and then the blood clot goes away, and you have new tissue that's just ba-boom. I even burned myself. It was funny in the timing. A burn on a burn. Burned myself on a pan. I was just cooking some stuff, so I had a pan in the oven, took it out, and just my arm goes on it. So it burns it. 5 days later, I burn it in the same damn area. And the healing, unbelievable. A burn on a burn. So I can't wait to get this at Shriners Hospital because we have one in Galveston. So after a few months with MD Anderson, I want the burn victims to get it because you can have skin like new with very, very little scarring. So why don't we take a quick break and outside look at the books. I mean, they have products out there. The biggest thing with the oils is it has to have more parent omega-6 and omega-3. You want GLA in it so it can make the PGE1. There's a reason for that. It talks about it in the books. It has to be organic. It can't be processed. Just cold pressing isn't enough. There's certain criteria it has to meet, and then it works. And it works in everybody. We all have the same physiology. Nobody is different. You can be as delusional as you want. I assure you, I don't need you as a result to see what it does. I know what it does. To have hundreds of thousands of people around the world, doctors all around the world, and it works the same. Any culture, any population, there's no exceptions here because your eye color is different or your skin is darker or your hair color is different. It's same physiology. So it works on everybody. But you can decide if you need something and what you're eating. So, like I say, please, the book before the supplement. You need to ask anybody selling supplements, how does this work and why do I need it? I can tell you why I need the oils, food processing. If there's no food processing, you wouldn't need me at all. I wouldn't be here. That's it. These other people, I don't know. Everything's an epidemic today, right? You don't make enough vitamin D. Why? Why did we make enough vitamin D 20 years ago and not today? Well, we don't. I just asked you why. More pollution? I don't know. It's made up, that's why. Just like cholesterol. What's the lower number? It started out at 250, then it went to 220, now it's at 200. Now we're going to knock it down. Oh, so you just make it up. Don't laugh. It's absolutely true. So by definition, everybody's cholesterol is too high. What is that called? Genius by the pharmaceutical companies. Damn it. Everybody out of the block, I don't care what the number is, it's too high. Isn't that brilliant? It's disgusting as heck. But isn't that a brilliant marketing method? And the doctors get conned into it and they just tell you to do it. And you're paying the doctor, you hope he knows what he's talking about. The last thing you want to be told is he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's the last thing anybody. Because what do? My doctor's the best. That's interesting because she has a different cardiologist than you do, and it's different than the cardiologist that he has, and all three of you are saying this guy's the best. How the hell's he the best and why? Because everybody wants to think I got the best. He's not the best. He's average like everybody else is. The only one that can be the best is a surgeon. A surgeon is technical. I can measure how you're the best. 2 questions. How many have you done? And how many bad outcomes? How many problems? All I need to do is ask, again, the intelligence of the question is proportional to the intelligence of the answer. 2 questions. So a Dr. Rob, he is the best. I can quantify it. In anything else, very hard to quantify. Why are you getting the best? Outside you want to think so. And then you put confidence in somebody you shouldn't. So it does have a very big downside. Because doctors talk like they know everything. It's very rare you get a guy that goes, I'm not sure, I don't know. Reason is you're paying him and he thinks you don't want to hear that. I have no respect for somebody that doesn't say that. I have a lot of respect for somebody that says I don't know. When we come back, you ask me questions. If I don't know, I'll tell you. You don't want my opinion. Opinions for art is for anything except this. This is too important. If I don't know it, I'll tell you I don't know it. There's a lot I don't know, I don't look at. I don't know if anybody else knows it. They may not. But if it's something I don't know, I shut the hell up. I know very little, but in that little is a lot. I stay in essential fatty acids, and different things come with it. So it makes me expand and explain things, but if I don't know it, I will tell you. So take 15 minutes, go outside and look at the books, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions.